catches the Thunderbolt on the Galarian Stunfisk. That is disgusting. That could have been the serve, and such a high-level play from Human Catcher Bug. Oh my god! Oh my god, what a play! Look at that stand, waiting half a turn. Human Catcher Bug waiting half a turn as well. Oh my god! Oh no, he got it! Oh no, hits the Blast Burn.
Oh my
Takes
goodness!
Dunsparce. Oh, poor Dunsparce. It is.
Saw it.
Oh, Charizard taking out the whole team. See ya later.
Human Catcher Bug continuing to farm and gets the CMP sack. No shot. He gets it. He gets the CMP sack. Seed Bomb onto the Dunsparce. And he caught the Drill Run. What a play. What a play. Human Catcher Bug.
Look at this. A masterpiece. Art. This was absolute top tier gameplay in Pokemon Go.
Hello and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I'm making this video because last weekend I went to Liverpool to participate in the biggest ever Pokemon Go regional tournament, and it went quite well. Actually so well that I ended up winning the whole thing. In this video I've been very excited about sharing it because I believe I've made probably some of the best plays I've ever pulled off, and I've played some of the best games that I've ever played, and just overall this tournament run has just been incredible. Obviously you have to play well to win. To the people who don't know, the tournament was played in the Show 6 Pick 3 format, as is all the regionals, like the official Play Pokemon regional tournament. And that means that you get to choose 6 Pokemon that you have to use for the entirety of the tournament. And then before every match, you show your opponent your team of 6, and they show you their team of 6, and then you choose which 3 Pokemon you want to use against that particular opponent for each game, based on what you think is going to do well against their team. And well, this is the team that I chose to go with. It's a pretty standard meta team, pretty much like Lantern, Umbreon, Medicham, Stunfisk, Trevenant, plus a flyer, usually Noctowl, is probably the most meta team you can use. And if you're new and you want to try and participate in the tournament, a practice tournament or regional tournament, I would say this team plus Noctowl instead of Charizard is a very good place to start. And then you can like move around, maybe swap Umbreon for an Alola Ninetales or an Altaria or something along those lines. Try out a few things from there. I don't want to talk too much about it, although I do want to mention that the reason why I picked Shadow Charizard for this particular tournament was because I was noticing a downtrend in bulky water types. There haven't been a lot of Tapu Fini and Azumarill in this season of the Play Pokemon circuit. So the by far most common bulky water type has been Lantern, as you see I also have on my team. But people have started to use less Lantern and have started to choose like an Alola Ninetales or a Frostlass or something along those lines, maybe even a double steel with Registeel plus Stunfisk as their 2 flying counters, because everybody have 2 flying counters. And against teams that have a steel or 2 steels, or a steel plus an ice type as their 2 flying counters, yeah, they just don't really have a response to Shadow Charizard at all. So it just roams free. And I also chose Shadow Charizard because I think Open Greatly can become quite RPS very easily. Like if you get Trevenant onto a Noctowl, Stunfisk onto a Medicham, Lantern onto a Trevenant, like the game is just pretty much over. But with Shadow Charizard in the back, you can lead Stunfisk into a Medicham, swap Medicham in, and they counter swap Noctowl. You still lose the matchup. You grab a shield, and then Shadow Charizard up a shield is just gonna, like, it's just such a good closer, so it can flip around this RPS matchup, and you can still end up winning it, which I think is really valuable. The way the tournament works is you have 160 players put into 8 groups of 20 players each, and then 2 people from out of those 20 advance through to day 2 through a double elimination bracket. So one player will go through undefeated through the winners bracket, then one player will go through the losers bracket after having lost once. So it's really, really difficult to go through to day 2, especially considering the group I was in with battles like Lurgan Rocket, Pato Man, Mohamed Uzumaki, V Tenacity. It was a really, really tough group. Unfortunately, not all the battles were shown on stream, and the battles that weren't shown on stream are not possible to get to show you, unfortunately, because they were played on separate phones that were there at the event, not on our own phones. We weren't allowed to use our own phones. So I actually don't have the footage of my first 4 battles. But I can tell you that started off in round 1 because I was unseeded. I was not a very famous person going in at all. Started off winning 2-0, then another 2-0, and another 2-0. You can see a pattern here. Then I got to play against one of my favorite streamers. I would definitely recommend checking her out, Momita, in the 4th round. A really, really cool experience. We had a good chat. I complimented her stream, I complimented her energy, her smile, and then I absolutely annihilated the living shit out of her. So that was just a perfect experience, really. Then after that, I finally got to get on stream in the 5th round against Pato Man, which, well, if you don't know him already, he is a top tier battler, and I was very nervous going into it because I knew how good he was. I knew how difficult of a game this would be, but this was the group final, meaning if I win this, I go through to day 2 through the winners bracket, which is really huge. Just real quick, before we watch the first battle, I want to thank Neuralcar for uploading this on his YouTube channel. You can find it here, Neuralcar VODs. You can also see the games from day 2. And also thank him for allowing me to use this footage to make this video. It's a really cool guy that I also got to meet. And I also want to thank Homeslice Henry and Inadequate for allowing me to use their reactions in the intro to this video. They're absolute legends, 2 of my favorite content creators that I really can't recommend enough if you're looking for some more Pokemon Go content outside of my own, of course. I want to recommend myself as well. So go check them out and link in the description, all of them. But well, onto the battles. I immediately, when looking at Patoman's team, look at the Altaria. I know that 5 out of 6 of my Pokemon lose to Altaria, so he's probably gonna bring it. But I also know that he's gonna expect me to expect it, so he's gonna expect the Stunfisk in every game basically. And I'm still gonna use it. So he's probably also gonna bring one of either Trevenant or Medicham or both in every game as well. So I'm very prepared for that. If we look at the games here, I think in the first game I end up leading Umbreon, and then with Stunfisk and Medicham in the back, with the idea that it is an ABB lineup against Trevenants. So I know that I have to get Umbreon out at some point. I lead into Lantern, which is a pretty neutral matchup for Umbreon, but I can't play this out fully because I have to lure the Trevenant out at some point. I also know that if he has a good Lantern, he can actually win this matchup in the Zero Shield straight Thunderbolt, so I assume he's gonna go for that, especially after he starts going for Thunderbolt. So we see I'm just waiting to find a spot where I can get my Stunfisk in here to lure out the Trevenant so my Medicham doesn't have to see the Trevenant. And then I can farm the Trevenant down with the Umbreon afterwards, or use the Umbreon to take care of the Trevenant afterwards. So you see here, actually, I just want to pause this. Right here, he is 2 turns away from getting to his Thunderbolt. As in he's 1 Spark, I'm 1 Snarl, meaning 3 turns away from getting to my foul play. So I know he's going to throw the Thunderbolt immediately, right before I get to my foul play. So I actually stop tapping. Instead of throwing a Snarl, I stop tapping so I can try and make a catch onto my Stun Fist to try and catch the Thunderbolt as he throws it. Very high level play, and I actually managed to do it. Catch the Thunderbolt onto my Stun Fist. And not only that, I get to pull out the Trevenant, so my Medicham doesn't have to see it. It is a bit of a questionable strategy because, as I said before the game, I think, like, I was pretty sure he was going to bring the Altaria. So sacrificing my Stunfisk like this, it is a bit questionable. But Medicham also does quite well against Altaria. That's the thing about my team. All 5 of the other Pokemon have play against Altaria. So I don't mind being weak to Altaria on paper or playing it a bit weird. This is also a really, really good play, I think. He throws the Seed Bomb, and instead of throwing my foul play to kill this Trevenant, I save the foul play in the back, and then I bring in the Medicham to farm down the Trevenant. And here we both have a catch. Like he can catch the move on his Lantern, but so I have to like try and throw in the most unpredictable time, and I choose to throw immediately because, I mean, as Martin said at the caster's booth, who does that? And if no one does it, well, then no one is expecting you to do it. And here I also just, usually he has to catch the move, and if you know, like if the opponent knows that he has to catch a move in order to win a game, it's usually not a question of whether or not they're going to try and catch. It's a question of when are they going to try and catch. So I had no intention of throwing my Ice Punch before he caught it, tried to catch it on the Lantern. I was just going to keep punching away, and then, yeah, he tries to catch. I know that the Ice Punch is not enough here, but I also know I have that foul play stored on the Umbreon in the back. So I end up winning the game. In game 2, I don't know why, but I felt like he was gonna lead weak to Trevenant again. It's kind of a thing with really high level players that if you lead really weak to something in the first game, you're gonna expect the opponent to not think you're gonna lead really weak to that thing again in the second game, or at least that's what I was thinking. So I just got this feeling that he was gonna lead really weak to Trevenant in the lead in the second game as well. So I decided to, well, leave Trevenant and just disappoint him. And, well, wouldn't you know, I let it right into Lantern. But this is a little bit dodgy, because then he swaps in Stunfisk. It is a good matchup for Trevenant, but I want to save my Trevenant for Lantern. So my initial plan is I want to throw a Shadow Ball to chip it, and then come in with Umbreon. But then he shields the Shadow Ball, and that confuses me. So I think I make a bit of a misplay here. I could have swapped in with Stunfisk right away. If I did that, it would have been fine, because he wouldn't have been able to double bait and then get to an Earthquake before I could get to 2 Earthquakes. But now, because I gave him that little bit more energy, it becomes pretty dodgy. And he actually Rock Slide baits me on the first one, meaning if he heals this and baits again, he can flip this, and he heals it and baits again, which yeah, I have to call it, and I do. That's I could have also thrown the Earthquake here, but I decided not to because my Stunfisk has really, really good IVs, so I always lose the CMP in the mirror. So I just decide to overfarm instead, up to 100 energy, and I think he makes the correct play here, bringing Lantern in. It might seem weird to bring a Lantern into a Stunfisk that's loaded on energy, but yeah, his Lantern is just not going to do anything when the Trevenant is in the back. And because I've already brought out my Altaria counter, it makes a lot of sense for him to try and win the game with Altaria. But here again, you notice it. Did you notice it again? I had a Rock Slide stored. Instead of throwing the Rock Slide on the Lantern, I save it because I'm expecting the Altaria to be in the back. And I would rather have the Rock Slide for Altaria in the back. So I save it and I swap into the Umbreon. And again, this is on paper a losing matchup for Umbreon, but it's a lot closer than Altaria wants it to be, even in the Zero Shields. Because, yeah, Moonblast is a hard-hitting move. It is super effective, but Umbreon is Umbreon, and Umbreon does Umbreon things. He gets the attack drop. I don't think it really matters. It does, because now I can't kill him with the last resort, but now here again, notice I swapped out right before him, so my switch timer is gonna be up in like a second. His switch time, like, okay, 2 seconds. His switch time is gonna be up like a second later. So what I do is, my switch time is not up yet. I stop tapping. Instead of throwing another Snarl with Umbreon, I stop tapping until my switch timer comes up, so I can swap out before his switch timer comes up to throw the Rock Slide and make sure it lands on the Altaria, and he can't catch it on the Lantern, because the Lantern is not a threat. The Altaria with energy, with a Sky Attack, is a threat to my Trevenant in the back. The Lantern is not a threat, so I want the Rock Slide to make sure the Rock Slide lands on the Altaria, which is why I played like this. And this is game. The Lantern can't do anything. So actually, I end up winning 2-0 against Pato, man. I was so proud of myself. Not just for winning, but playing it like that. I know I got a lot of compliments for those 2 games as well. So really, really good matches. A really good way to finish day 1 as well. So winning that match against Pato, man, means that I won Group A, meaning I qualified for day 2 through the winner's bracket. And well, going right into day 2, I had to play against the winner of Group G, a battler called Taun from France. I know that he finished 4th in a regional, like the last regional I saw not too long ago. He finished 4th in that, and I know he's a really good battler. And he brought, unfortunately again, this game wasn't in stream, he brought Shadow Dragonair, which was real big issue for my team, but very fortunately for me, I was actually prepared for it, and I had looked a lot of matchups against Shadow Dragonair up. The issue you can get against the Shadow Dragonair is that it beats a lot of things in the 2 shields, and it can almost force switch against everything if it 2 shields again, like if it 2 shields through your Pokemon. But one thing you need to be aware of, one thing that you need to check right now, in fact, if you wanna battle, especially if you have a Medicham, is Medicham can get a counter breakpoint, meaning every counter, every fast move does 1 more damage, does 8 damage instead of 7 damage to the Shadow Dragonair. If it gets the counter breakpoint, you win the 2 shields against Shadow Dragonair. If it doesn't, you lose it. If I didn't get the counter breakpoint, his Shadow Dragonair would win 2 shields against everything in my team, meaning he could force switch against everything. But I had checked before the tournament, and my Medicham does get the counter breakpoint. I don't think I actually ended up getting Medicham on his Shadow Dragonair, but it gave me a lot of comfort knowing that I could do it. I could beat the Shadow Dragonair like that. But in the end, the game ended up being quite simple, because I got my Trevenant on his Medicham 2 times in both games, and yeah, there was all I could do about it. I think I played well, but on to the next game. round 2, it says. It's actually round 7. It's the winner's semifinals against a mind joke. Also a streamer I've been watching. Also got a bit starstruck meeting him a little bit, I think. He's a really cool guy. He was also really nervous. We were like sitting next to each other before the game, just shaking together because of our nerves. That was really cool. But I was very fortunate in that I got to see some of his games, like some of the games he had played on stream before, and I saw that he really liked leading Shadow Sableye. You can see his team here. So I decided to lead Umbreon because of it, also because he doesn't really have a hard answer to Umbreon. It's pretty safe against his team. The hardest answer being Registeel, but I have Trevenant, Stunfisk, Charizard, and Medicham that are countering Registeel, that are good against Registeel, so I wasn't expecting him to bring it, at least not in the lead. Maybe only if he was expecting Umbreon, which it makes sense if he was expecting me to bring Umbreon as a safe swap, and then he had Registeel in the back. So that does make a little bit of sense. Other than that, if you look at his team, this is exactly the type of team that I was talking about in the beginning of the video. Look at what type of flying counters he has. Registeel is a good counter to Noctowl. Really is. Frostlass, good counter to Noctowl. Really is. But against Charizard? No. Even Swampert, you might think Shadow Swampert is good against Shadow Charizard, because water against fire. Shadow Swampert has to land a move, otherwise it does no damage. Shadow Charizard actually wins the 2-shield against Shadow Swampert, because you outpace, you get to the moves at the same time, and Shadow Charizard wins CMP. So it's not really an answer. So Shadow Charizard just roams free with a bit of energy or a shield advantage. Sorry about that. I lead Umbreon into Sableye, and he swaps in Registeel. I immediately swap in Charizard. Unfortunately, he just about outpaces me, but that's okay, because I can just load up to 100 energy. And are you ready for something beautiful? How much damage do you think a Blast Spin does to Registeel? The answer is all of it. Boom! And I still have a lot of energy on my Charizard. It is so menacing. Yeah, I'm down a shield, but I have a Blast Burn loaded already. Brings back in the Sableye. You might think he should brought in Swampert because it's a water type, but I think this is actually the correct play. He needs to do some fast move damage on my Charizard. And I overfarmed to the max because I'm not expecting him to shield it. I think I was expecting him to sacrifice the Sableye because he knows I have an Umbreon in the back. But he ends up shielding it, so I overfarm a little bit more, and I don't want to get too low on the HP. I should also say I'm expecting the Swampert in the back because my Charizard looks so good, and Swampert is quite good against my team in general. So it is the Swampert. And again, it's a non-step Dragon Claw. How much damage can it really do? Half. It does half. And now he only has half a Swampert left. I still have 2 Pokemon in the back. Like, what has happened here? Charizard has just completely destroyed his entire team. And that's what it can do. Absolutely beautiful. You see also I'm over farming a lot whenever I can, just to try and throw him off if he's not paying 100% attention to the counts. And just giving him something to pay attention to with that. And well, my Umbreon takes out Swampert, and I don't even have to show my 3rd Pokemon because Shadow Charizard was just so menacing, so good. So I'm pretty much the reason why I went with Umbreon Lantern Charizard specifically was that I knew I was gonna want to sweep with Charizard, just try and set up Charizard. So I was basically just using Umbreon and Lantern as like meat shields. And if you look at his team again, like nothing hard beats Umbreon, so I can swap it in. Like I can use it pretty safely and just use it as a meat shield, try and catch something on the Umbreon without it punishing me too much. And I can do the same with Lantern. Like nothing hard beats Lantern either on his team. And it's another bulky Pokemon that I can use as a meat shield to just set up Charizard, which is my strategy in this game. Just Charizard plus 4 shields, see how far it can take me. I think he's leading, like, he's playing ABB against Trevenant, which does make sense because he's expecting me to expect Swampert, so he's expecting Trevenant as a response, but I don't need to bring in. I think even though Trevenant does look good against his team, like against Trevenant, Medicham, Frostlass, Swampert, it's quite risky to play because he has the Noctowl, and I just don't have to take that type of risk because, well, my strategy with just getting a lot of energy on these very safe Pokemon and just outplaying him with my energy and with Charizard is just pretty much bulletproof, I think. You saw there as well, I caught the Sky Attack on Umbreon, which was my plan. But he does something very, very good there to load back up on the Noctowl, so he now can threaten my Charizard later on with the energy, and then he brings in Registeel. Again, I really wasn't expecting the Registeel, especially not in the second game, after seeing how little it did in the first game. But yeah, I think he was playing ABB against Trevenant, and it makes sense to use Registeel to lure out Trevenant so that Swampert can sweep in the back. I think that might have been his strategy in both games. This is a very poor undercharge. No offense, a mind joke, but I really don't like that play. If he had fully charged that, he could have farmed me down afterwards, I think. Yeah, I end up swapping out to Charizard, and because I am fully aware of where he's at energy-wise, I end up CMP tying on him, which is a little disgusting, but yeah, I like it. And again, you might think he should bring in the Swampert, but it's not really a response. So I actually like this play, coming with Noctowl to grab a shield first. And I think he tries to catch a Blast Burn here, I'm not sure. Anyways, I'm very happy to see him swap out because again, I have Lantern in the back, and Lantern against Noctowl is just, I know it's game over here. You could argue that he shields this. Some might say that I don't need to shield my Charizard. I think it's very important I shield my Charizard here because my Lantern can't comfortably spark the Swampert down. So that could be very uncomfortable. I really want the wing attack fast move damage on the Swampert to either put it in a comfortable farm down range for Lantern or to take it out. And like at this point, yeah, my Lantern can just win the game no matter what he chooses to do. So I just bring it in immediately after the Swampert goes down, and you can see he shakes his head. There's nothing he can do. I'm also just pumping my fist. I don't think he necessarily made any mistakes. I do think bringing Registeel is a bit weird, but like he played well. It's just a very, very tough team composition for him. And of course, my Charizard got to get a lot of play, which you have to love. And also a bit of funny little detail here. I throw the Surf because I want to remind myself of how much a Surf does to a Noctowl. It might come in handy, just reminding myself of that for future games. Yeah, very good game. And I end up winning the 7th round. And here I go through to the winners final, which is really huge, meaning I'm among the last 3 battlers in the tournament, and 1 game away from qualifying for the World Championship. So yeah, as I just mentioned, 1 game away from qualifying for the World Championship. The thing is, if you don't know, the first prize for winning this tournament is qualification for the World Championship plus a travel reward, meaning they will pay for your trip to Yokohama in August. And the second place is also a ticket to the World Championship, but you just have to pay for it yourself. Plus, there's a bit of discrepancy when it comes to the amount of money you make off of the tournament. Whereas there's $2,000 for first place, outside of the travel reward, and then 1,000 for second. So that means that if I win this game, this is not the final, it's the winner's final. You still have to beat the winners in the loser's final as well afterwards. But if I win this game, I have secured a top 2 finish, meaning I will have qualified for the World Championships. So the nerves are real. Looking at Statistan's team, Statistan, my opponent in this 8th round, using Noctowl, Dunsparce, Mew. Yeah, what is happening? Lantern, Medicham, and Stunfisk. You see that there are 4 regular Pokemon among these. And then, what is this? What is happening here? Luckily, again, don't want to talk myself up too much still, but I have prepared quite a lot for this tournament. And you might not think that a lot of people are aware of what this little thing can do, but I know what it can do. It's quite good against Trevenant, Lantern, and Charizard. But I wasn't expecting him to bring it too much because it's pretty bad against Umbreon, it loses to Stunfisk, and it's really bad against Medicham. He does bring it, so you'll get to see some Dunsparce action as well. This, because it's the winners finals, the last 3 games, winners finals, losers finals, and grand finals, are a best of 5 instead of a best of 3. So yeah, keep that in mind. It's quite important. Looking at his team, I remember thinking Trevenant is very risky, but it's good against 4 out of 6 here. It's very bad against Noctowl. It actually wins the zero shots against Dunsparce, which is nuts because it's a normal type. But yeah, it's really good. And also, I think my Stunfisk is quite good as well. Yeah, let's see. First game, we actually the stream started off in the middle of the game. We start off with me shielding an Earthquake from his Stunfisk. It's the Stunfisk Bureau match. And then we see me go for the Rock Slide bait. A very, very risky bait. You see me slide it as if it's an Earthquake. I'm holding up my phone up high, just in case he's watching. Looking over, seeing my movements. And he shields the bait. Then you see I go for the Earthquake. I wait a turn before throwing it to make sure he can't catch it. And he no shields it. And here I know if I shield again, I can win this matchup with a lot of health on my Stunfisk. So I choose to do that. And then just farm him down afterwards. And here you might see he's gonna bring in Medicham, obviously. And most people would probably say you can't swap. I heard the casters say the same thing. I would say I have to swap. If I let my Stunfisk get farmed down by Medicham here, which is what he would do, I assume. If he brings Medicham in, there's a chance he's gonna farm me down. He's gonna come out with 2 moves. And then my Trevenant can't do anything, my Umbreon can't do anything. I think I have to swap out. The Medicham is just gonna sweep me otherwise. Because I don't have any shields. So I bank an Earthquake and I swap in my Umbreon. And you might think I'm insane. I can't swap in Trevenant. If it's the Noctowl in the back, he's just gonna farm my Trevenant all the way down, come out with 100 energy. So it looks weird. I think this is my only play, bringing in the Umbreon. Luckily, I have a lot of energy on my Stunfisk in the back. Let's see. Oh, yeah. This is a losing matchup, but Umbreon versus Medicham is not as bad as you would initially think. And I have to throw immediately here, because if I throw a Snarl and then throw my foul play, I might not get it off because he was one counter away from his Ice Punch. It's pretty poor timing for me, really, but yeah. So of course I'm going to bring in the Trevenant here, and bring the Noctowl, and I have to swap immediately, pretty standard. See the Shadow Ball come through, then the Rock Slide. And again, I try to overfarm as much as possible on my Stunfisk to throw him off count. And I've noticed that I have to try and catch here. I think this is the game. No, it's not. It's not. Sorry. Next game. You'll get a very nice play in the next game. Just wait for it. I think I make a bit of a misplay here. I should not have thrown this Seed Bomb. It was so obvious he was going to try and catch it, I think, looking back at it. But it's very difficult to make these decisions in real time because everything is so fast. I do regret it, though. I do think it was quite obvious. He should have also gone for the Shadow Ball here. But yeah, Sky Attack is enough. So he actually takes the first game. I don't think I made any mistakes other than not predicting the catch at the end there. I don't think it was a mistake bringing in the Umbreon. Yeah. Game 2, I go risky and I get punished. Trevenant into Noctowl is so tough. But I'm playing ABB against Medicham, and here you're gonna see the true power of just how disgustingly good Umbreon is. Because with one Snarl advantage, as you're gonna see, Umbreon can actually win the Zero Shield against Medicham. It can't do much in the 1 shield or 2 shields, so it's pointless for me to try and shield anything. So I just have to, well, I assume he's gonna shield at the end, but then I get a shield advantage, and maybe he has something in the back that's also semi-weak to Stunfisk, like a Dunsparce or a Lantern or something. And if you want to win the Zero Shields against Medicham with one Snarl's advantage, you have to go for the last resort at the end. That's the win condition. That's the way you do it. And here I'm just gonna sack the Trevenant, like it's useless when there's a Noctowl in the back. Or I'm just gonna tank the energy on it at least, and just hope. I also load up to a Shadow Ball just in case I can snipe something. Like if I can get him shields down, and then maybe he has a Mew in the back or something like that that I can snipe at the end, or a Lantern with that energy. And it ends up being Dunsparce, meaning I have a little bit of play here. Stunfisk up a shield. Drill Run is definitely the move that I want to shield. It's definitely the move that does the most damage to Stunfisk, comparing it to the Shadow Ball of Noctowl. And I think I do make a little bit of a misplay here too. I throw quickly because I want him to not shield it, but I needed the energy. I needed to overfarm more. Now I don't have enough energy to beat the Noctowl without doing something a little bit magical. And boy, do I try. The thing is, you notice here, he waits a turn before throwing the Shadow Ball. It's a thing that a lot of people do, and like when there's a 2-turn or a 3-turn fast move, people like to wait one turn before throwing the fast move to throw in the middle of the fast move animation. So here, let me just try and explain what's happening. I've noticed he likes to throw his moves immediately, but he waits a turn. He is at his sky attack now, a sky attack which is enough to be lethal, so I'm expecting him to throw it immediately on my Stunfisk, but I'm also expecting him to wait a turn to throw in the middle of my fast move. So what I do, I have to try and sack here. It's basically the thing. What I do is I also wait a turn before trying to sack, and then I try to sack swap CMP tie him to still get the C bump off, even though it's a sack, even though I take the sky attack. So you see here, both of us wait a turn, and then I swap in my Trevenant, but he doesn't fall for it. The casters went crazy about this move because there's one turn standoff between it. And a little bit of a funny detail as well. Seed Bump is more energy efficient against the Noctowl, but if you only get to one move, the Shadow Ball does slightly more damage against the Noctowl. Just a good thing to know for future reference or for your future battles. So I actually go down 0-2, but as I said, this is best of 5. I haven't lost yet. Although playing against a battler like Statastan down 2-0 in a situation like this, I felt the pressure, and I felt like I had to try and do something a little bit differently. And that's where I realized, you know what? He hasn't brought the Mew or the Lantern at all in these games. What is weak against Mew and Lantern, but good again, but has play against the rest of the team? And this is where the game gets very interesting. I did the Trevenant again. Again, same, like he's not going to expect me to lead very weak against Noctowl when I just lost the game because of it. So yeah, you could say it's risky. And then he brings in Dunsparce. I bring in Umbreon immediately. You might think this is a very even matchup because both Pokemon do neutral damage across the board. But Umbreon is just a lot more tanky, and it's throwing stab moves as opposed to non-stab moves from the Dunsparce. So it's a pretty dominant matchup for Umbreon. So we just go at it, throwing Drill Run and Foul Play. And I'm thinking, if he wants Switch, I know it's not a Lantern in the back because he can't lead Medicham and have Lantern in the back against someone who has a Trevenant. That doesn't make sense. Like, it's too risky. And if he does, well, then my Trevenant is just going to sweep him in the back. So I'm thinking, I actually don't need Switch. Like, my Charizard up a shield, or up 2 shields even, is just going to sweep him. Like, he can't, if he wants to switch, he has to spend 2 shields, so I can just swap in Charizard, and this is again where things start to go crazy. Look, I'm pumping my fist already. There was a bit of a one-turn desync there, I think, some sort of lag, and I know I only got in like usually with the Charizard Medicham matchup. If you just go straight for the Blast Burn, like if you throw 6 wing attacks and then a Blast Burn, that's enough to kill the Medicham, no matter how good the IVs of the Medicham is. But because I had that one turn lag, I could only throw 5 wing attacks before the Blast Burn, meaning the Blast Burn is not enough to kill the Medicham, just about. So there's no point in me throwing the Blast Burn. I react to that quite quickly, and then I might as well just overfarm instead. And then I make a bit of a undercharge just to get a little bit more energy. And now, how much damage do you think a Blast Burn from a Shadow Charizard does to a Noctowl? A Noctowl is really, really bulky. Yeah. Boom! Again. 1 Blast Burn plus 1 Dragon Claw, and Noctowl is just gone. And again, Charizard just taking out the entire team. And I'm back in it. 1-2. My friends cheering me on. They were amazing all weekend, my friends. You're gonna see some pretty amazing scenes later on. Game 4, I lead Stunfisk into Medicham. But this is exactly the type of situation I talked about in the beginning of the video. I swap in Medicham as a safe swap. He swaps in Noctowl. This is a losing matchup initially for Medicham. But I can grab a shield. He really wants to keep alignment because he had Medicham and Stunfisk. He doesn't want his Dunsparce onto the Stunfisk. He really wants, so he has to give me a shield here basically. I just no shield the Sky attack. Going for the Psychic, and either he loses Switch or he gives me a shield advantage. And well, can you see what I have in the back? Can you already envision what is about to happen? I can. I have a shield advantage in my Charizard. And he realizes this, actually. He realizes his Charizard in the back, so he decides to try and make a play. Swaps in Medicham. I'm not sure I agree with it. And obviously I have to shield everything on Charizard. It can't, it's very allergic to charge moves. And I overfarm to the max, CMP tie. You can always, like, against pretty much everything, you can CMP tie if you know the counts. And know that you win CMP. And how much damage do you think a Bastion does to a Dunsparce? Boom! Once again. And here Charizard has just done its job. I know that I can sweep the rest of the game with Stunfisk. And you might think this is poor timing by me, but I might as well throw too much at because I'm not expecting him to shield here. He does shield, but yeah, I could have thrown the Rock Slide, but yeah, I can also just farm him down and save the energy of a Noctowl. I do actually make a huge misplay here because his Noctowl, if you look at the Noctowl's health range, it is in Earthquake range. I could have BM'd him, and I didn't, and I think that's just a huge misplay by me. I really should have. But yeah, I choose to play it safe. And I win game 4, and all of a sudden, I'm back into it. From 2-0 down to 2-2 in the winner's final. Oh, is it tense. And then, game 5. Charizard has done incredibly well for me in game 3 and 4. So what do I do in game 5? I bench it. Of course I do. He brings the Dunsparce and Lantern. I think he has to bring you or Lantern at this point. I'm assuming the Lantern. So I bring back the Trevenant Stunfisk core with the Umbreon as well. It is a bit risky. If he leads Noctowl, it's of course still really bad. But I think it was the correct play to bench the Charizard here. He could have also just 5-hit played me and just called that I was gonna think he would bring Lantern, and then, but you know, you never know. I thought he was gonna bring the Lantern, and I ended up calling it correctly this time. I do lead Trevenant into Dunsparce, however, which initially is a bad matchup. I get a bit of stutter lag, which I don't know what happened there. I couldn't swap out, but this is a very cool detail as well. I just want to talk about. I throw one Shadow Claw before swapping in my Umbreon. That way I'm spending 2 turns on the Shadow Claw and 1 turn on the swap on a 3-turn move from Dunsparce, meaning my Umbreon comes in and aligns its fast moves precisely on the Dunsparce, meaning if the Dunsparce wants to chip my Umbreon, I will sneak an entire Snarl through as it does so. Just a bit of a fun play. And you see how little that Drill Run does. But it's enough to put me in a range where Umbreon can't really handle the Noctowl. He brings in the Noctowl here because he is expecting the Charizard in the back once again. So he's saving the Lantern, which I think is a pretty good play by him. Given the knowledge that he had, I mean, it makes sense. He doesn't know that I have Stunfisk in the back. He's not expecting it, I don't think. And again, I overfarm a lot because I know that I can, just to try and see if I can throw him off his count. But I can't. He's too good. I can't really farm him down with Trevenant here. I don't want to reveal the Stunfisk, but I kind of have to. Because, yeah, the Noctowl just do too much damage. And notice here, he only throws 5 wing attacks before swapping out, so he doesn't have the Sky Attack loaded yet. That's a very important detail. And then he swaps in Dunsparce. Dunsparce looking goofy as all hell, throwing those rollouts. You would think a Drill Run does more damage to Stunfisk when it's super effective, but yeah, it takes 3 charge moves to knock out Stunfisk. Shields again, and then let me ask you, what would you do in this situation? I'm assuming it's a Lantern in the back, but I'm not 100% sure. If I take another, he's going to outpace me to a Drill Run before I get to an Earthquake. And I don't want to take the Drill Run onto my Stunfisk. So what I do, instead of just staying in here, I want to save my Stunfisk just in case it's not Lantern in the back and my Trevenant can't sweep. Because it's very uncomfortable. If I take another Drill Run, my HP will go down to like here. It will go down into the red. And I don't have that much HP in my Trevenant either. That could become very uncomfortable. So I don't want to take it. So I try to sack swap. Not just sack swap. I attempt a sack swap CMP tie in the most important game of my life. And I actually managed to pull it off. I get the Drill Run onto my Trevenant. Absolute scenes. And there you see it. I outpaced to the C-Bomb. I don't know why he doesn't throw on the Noctowl, but it would have been a CMP if he threw. And I think this is definitely the correct play by him as well. The only play he has here is to try and farm me down with Trevenant. Or with Lantern, so he can come out with 2 serves for my Stunfisk. Even if he manages to do it, I still think I win, because I live a serve, and he has no fast move pressure. But because he doesn't manage to farm me down, I win the game. I get to the Earthquake. I think a Rock Slide is enough from here, but I want to make sure. And I know he doesn't have the energy to threaten me. And I qualify for the World Championship. Down 2-0 against a world-class opponent. Come back and win it 3-2 with a sack swap CMP tie. Absolute scenes. You can see my friends celebrating with me. Oh, I'm so happy in that moment. Can't believe what happened. Really, really cool. So that means that I win the winner's bracket, but I still, because you have to lose 2 games in order to get knocked out of the tournament. So there's still a loser's bracket, and I have to beat the winner from the loser's bracket once, whereas they have whoever comes through the loser's bracket has to beat me twice, because I still have 2 losses remaining in order to get knocked out. And the person I end up having to face in the final, in the grand final, is none other than the person I faced in day 1 as well. Pato, man. The 15-year-old kid from Spain. Yes, 15. And he is so good at the game already. It's kind of scary. If you want to see, we were told to do these weird things. Like, what is this? And again, this is another best of 5. I have the comfort knowing that I only have to win once and I can lose once. And again, because we played each other before, there are a few mind games around. I know he likes to use Deltaria, like especially against my team. So even though he leads Noctowl, you might initially think, well, he's not going to have ABA Flyer. But looking at my team, nothing is really stopping him from having Noctowl and Altaria as like an ABA, because Stunfisk is good enough against Noctowl. Like, no, Noctowl is good enough against Stunfisk. As in, it's not that hard of a loss. So if you can get my Stunfisk out of the way with his Noctowl, his Altaria is roaming free. So I'm not, like, I actually think that if he stays in this matchup with Noctowl, and like it's not some sort of ABB line trying to lure out Trevenant somehow, like it has to be Altaria in the back. Because if he has like anything other than Altaria, if it's like Medicham plus Trevenant or Lantern, Stunfisk, he's just going to be really, really weak to Trevenant in the back if there's not an Altaria. So it pretty much has to be Altaria unless he's playing ABB. So if he's not swapping out and it's not ABB, it's Altaria with this line, is what I'm thinking. See, I throw immediately because there's a 1-turn desync and I didn't want it to affect the game. And again, if it's Altaria in the back, he also has to have something like for Lantern Stunfisk. So I'm expecting that to either be a Medicham or a Trevenant, meaning I really want switch advantage in this match. And we see before every move, notice, wait a turn, always, never risk having the opponent catch a move. And of course I just stay in and let my Stunfisk get farmed down, and I can get my Trevenant onto the Medicham, immediately swap in the Umbreon, and this is a pretty good spot. But I start to think, he knows he's behind in this matchup, behind because he has his Medicham up against the Trevenant and his Altaria in a pretty neutral matchup. He has to try and make a move in order to get out of this. What type of move can he make in order to get out of this matchup? I realized last second, and you're gonna see this, I'm gonna put into detail in a second what I mean. I realized last second, he is not throwing on the Altaria. Why is he not throwing on the Altaria? Look at how much energy he has. What is his play? What can he do here in order to come back in this game? Maybe if he catches a foul play on his Medicham, I'm essentially burning the energy off of my Umbreon. That's the only play I can think about in the moment that he's going to try and do in order to come back into this game. And because I know he is so good at this game, I know he's going to find his win condition. And if there's only one win condition, he's going to do it. So I hard read. This is probably the best play of the tournament, I would say. And I don't think anyone really noticed it. The caster certainly didn't talk about it. This is probably the best play of the entire tournament. When I get to my foul play, I hard read that he's just going to swap in his Medicham. You see how little HP I have on my Umbreon? I don't want to take a counter from the Medicham. I'm afraid my Umbreon will die if I hesitate, and I don't want to throw my foul play immediately because I assume he's going to swap in his Medicham and try and catch the foul play on his Medicham. So what I do is I immediately swap in my Trevenant, like simultaneously at the same time as he swaps in his Medicham. I just hard read that he's going to swap in his Medicham and try and catch the foul play. That is probably the best play of the entire tournament, in my opinion. And no point in baiting here as well. And again, you might think, oh, why not just throw the seed bomb here? The only loose con I have is that he like no shields the seed bomb or something, and then has the shield for the foul play, and the seed bomb doesn't KO the Altaria. Because I have a foul play loaded, I might as well throw the Shadow Ball. Because I know I'm gonna land a move that's hard enough hitting to KO. Very important that I saved the foul play and didn't throw it on the Medicham. And in the second game, we lead Trevenant into Trevenant, which I thought I would win CMP here, because my Trevenant usually wins CMP in the mirror matches, but I guess he has higher attack. I call the bait because, well, who doesn't bait in this matchup? Like, everybody baits in this matchup. Of course they do. So I take the shield, I swap out. This is again the same line I've played a lot of times. If you want to line with GBL as well, this is pretty good. Trevenant, Umbreon, Stunfisk. Use Umbreon to lure out the fighter, and then have Stunfisk in the back. I think when Shadow Ninetales is released, Shadow Alolan Ninetales that is, this is probably not a good lineup anymore, but until then, try it out. I've done pretty well with it. Again, using Umbreon to lure out the Medicham, so my Stunfisk doesn't have to see it. And then Stunfisk up a shield in the back. I mean, I don't think there's anything he can do. I know an Ice Punch is not enough here. So he has to empty his energy in order to take out my Umbreon. I actually miscounted here, which is pretty bad. I thought he was one before the Shadow Ball, but luckily he baited. I think I would have still won, even if he landed a Shadow Ball, because he has Spark Lantern in the back, and it has no fast move pressure against my Stunfisk. But yeah, this is a really, really rough spot for him. The only thing I need to make sure of is that he doesn't catch an Earthquake on his Medicham. And there's no point in baiting here. Like, the only loose con I have is if he calls a bait. Because I outpace him so heavily with my two shields. Like, he's not gonna land a Surf on me. And even if he does, it's not enough. So I just have to wait to see the Spark animation, throw in the middle of his fast move. Nice. And he can't catch. That's game. So, up 2-0 in the grand final. I only need one more win to become the Liverpool regional champion. The regional champion of the biggest Pokemon Go tournament, play Pokemon tournament in the, like, ever. From out of absolute nothing, according to the casters, to a regional champion. Yeah, this this was special. This was really special. I was so nervous as well. And again, he leads Noctowl again. I lead Umbreon. I just want to explain this. He led Trevenant in the last game because I've been using the Trevenant Stunfisk core a lot, and the best answer he has to the Trevenant Stunfisk core is his own Trevenant. So it makes a lot of sense if he's expecting me to use this core. If he doesn't want to lose lead, at least, it makes a lot of sense for him to lead his own Trevenant. So I think he might do it again, which is why I'm leading the Umbreon. But seeing the Noctowl, I have the same thought as I had in the first game of the Grand Finals. It's probably Altaria in the back. Unless he swaps out, then it might be some ABB line. And if it's Altaria in the back, it's probably Medicham, maybe Trevenant. So I really want the switch advantage. I'm expecting Altaria plus Medicham in the back, and I'm just playing, like I'm just hard reading it really. So I really want switch advantage in this game, and I'm willing to pay whatever the price for it. So see, just sky attacks, foul plays. I like that he's over farming like this, trying to throw me off my count. And I know that if this Snarl doesn't KO, I have to throw my foul play because he's 2 wing attacks away from the next sky attack. And here happens, the magic just happens here. I get a shield KO. If you don't know, every move, even shielded, if a move is shielded, it still does 1 HP of damage. And the Noctowl had exactly 1 HP remaining. So I get my Trevenant on the Medicham, win switch. I'm expecting him to sack, so I wait a turn. And I get my Stunfisk onto the Altaria. The game is not over, but it is looking good here. One thing that I'm very conscious of is I want to throw my last Rock Slide, the Rock Slide that's going to kill the Altaria, at a time where I can swap my Trevenant in immediately afterwards. Like, so he can't get any farm on his Medicham and get some extra energy. So that's why I don't want him to be able to catch it, but I want to throw it within 10 seconds of our switch timer coming up, which is why I'm throwing it immediately. You might think, why not over farm? Why not? But I want to throw it at a time where he can't catch it on Medicham. And here it's, yeah. I don't think I have to bait. So I go straight for the Shadow Ball. And he lets it go. And I win. I win 3-0. I win the regional championship. That was such a magical moment. And then I fall off my chair. But don't worry, as someone mentioned in the Twitch chat, as a buck, I resist ground, so it didn't hurt too bad. I'm okay. The emotions just, oh. Well, that concludes my regional run, winning the entire tournament. My first tournament, might I add. Just want to leave you with this beautiful photo. And before you leave, I want to mention that I'm planning on making a lot more videos in the future, probably more around GPL games. So if you want to watch more of these types of plays, these types of games from someone who's currently number 12 in the world and consistently up there among the best, playing against the best players in the world, then subscribe to the channel. And if you want to let the YouTube algorithm know that this is a video worth recommending to other people, I would very much appreciate if you would leave it a like as well. Thank you, and I hope to see you next time.